Welcome back to the Dig Youth channel. Uh, when I was in California at the Bless God Summit, I had the opportunity to listen to a man named Jim Wallace. Now, Jim was a ex police officer. He retired from the force, and when he retired, he realized that he began to have an identity crisis. And so, this is where this entire sermon is then based off of. And as Jim starts out, he talks about that even at the very beginning of when we create a social media platform, the first thing we do is we write our name and then we write a bio. And that bio is how we identify ourselves. It's how we are trying to present the world about who we are. Now, science would say that your identity is who you are, not how you are known. So it's not how other people perceive you, it's how you perceive yourself. So Jim was talking about how the low points in your life, since every life fluctuates, every human goes through points that are kind of low and depressing, and they're points that we have to struggle through. And then there's the high points in our life. And every low point that we have leads to trauma. And every thing of trauma that we go through then leads to an identity shift. For example, let's say you're a skilled super athlete and you're a football player and you go through and you're doing great, you're going off to college as a super football star, and then you break your leg. And through all of this process, you lose your identity as a football player. And so that trauma that you go through then led to an identity shift. And we see this happen all the time. But also, every identity shift that we go through then leads to more trauma. So you go through this identity shift, you're no longer a football player, and now you have no identity. Now you're at this point where what am I? Who am I? What is my purpose? And so we have to then find an identity that is continuous and unchanging. And how we go through and we find an identity is in three different ways. The first way is our outside in identity, where we look out to the world and we perceive things and then we form our identity based on that. So you might look out, see a group of friends, and you identify with that group of friends. Then that would be an outside in identity. The second one would be an inside out identity, where you're looking inward to yourself. For example, the football player. That's something that you identify. It's a skill or a success, or just how the world would say, it's just being you. And unfortunately, both those two ways are unstable because those things can change. But there's something that doesn't change, and that's the topside down identity, where we have to look upwards to our Creator, someone who is continuous and unchanging, and we have to ask Him to then determine who we are. And Jim, he talked about this in three different ways. He called the first one, the outside in identity, as how you perceive the world around you. The second one is how you conceive yourself. And the third one is how you receive from your Creator. And so I'm urging everybody here today to go and look at how you are basing your identity. You may think that your identity is based in Christ, but I would say that it's a good chance that it's not. And I say this because we all seem to have this misplaced devotion in our lives. And for me, I tend to find myself as an inside out identity person where I say I'm a youth leader, I'm a skilled martial artist, and I find my identity in those things. And that's misplaced devotion. Those are things that I should be putting second to the identity that is given to me by my Creator. And so I find myself sometimes wrestling with this idea that I, if someone asks me, the first thing I say is, "Oh, this is what I do," or "I this is what I focus on," and I'm a physical educator, so I go out and I I do all that, and it's not rooted in Christ. So I'm urging you today, just as I have to go and work through all the issues with myself, to go and strip out those idols that you prioritize over Christ and turn your attention back to Him. And I'll be praying for that, just as I'm sure that you will pray praying for me. Thank you.